Hey, Chameleon.com here. Today we're going to be teaching you how to properly prepare tofu, the delicious protein-packed base for basically any type of cuisine you're trying to create, anything from a stir-fry sandwich or salad from around the world. This has the awesome attribute of basically absorbing the flavors of whatever's around it, so it's good for pretty much anything you're trying to create. Before I go any further, as always, we're going to have links in the description below to ensure that you get the best price on your tofu purchase, whatever you choose today, because we're going to have the best sellers. Let me zoom in here, camera guy, just to show you what's going on here. I use the brand Wildwood because it's USDA organic and non-GMO, at least at the time of this recording, but you can't go wrong. There's a lot of good brands out there, which we'll have links in the description below too. Wildwood is actually the number 4 top selling on Amazon at the time of this recording. But anything that's non-GMO and ideally USDA organic, you can't go wrong with. Mori New is a pretty good brand, but links in the description below. And also, how can I forget, be sure to check us out, your friends over at Chameleon.com, because we have basically every type of kitchen gear known to man or womankind. We have stuff for your kitchen, stuff for your sink, stuff for anything you need to help up your kitchen game. Check us out over at Chameleon.com because we have your back. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm actually going to open this article because I do take the opinions of others on how to prepare stuff, which we'll have links in the description also on a couple of these articles. But there was one that really took the tofu, shall I say, because it was just so well written. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Get out of here. Is this it right here? I think this is it. Okay, so number 1, you got to drain it. I'm just going to read the highlights and then I'm going to get straight into it. And I'll get to that in a second. If you marinate it, skip the oil. Cornstarch holds the key to crispness. I actually like to use arrowroot because I try to stay away from cornstarch. And make sure the pan is hot because you want to make sure that crispiness, and you want to sear it to lock in the fluids and stuff. It's delicious when it's got a good sear. Just the olive oil. You actually want to use oils like sesame and I have a USDA organic sesame, but they also recommend 2 great options. Sesame oil, which will give it a tofu and nutty flavor, and coconut oil, which lends a subtle sweetness. So coconut or sesame oil is actually what this article recommends when you do decide to put this in the pan or in the baking sheet. Season generously. Almost as important as cornstarch. I would rather you use a curry powder when you actually do decide to, oil it and then, or whatever you do. I don't recommend putting eggs, but if you want to oil it and then put curry powder on it, which is how I usually do it. But really what I want to focus on is how you actually press this stuff out. So let's do this really quick. So most tofu comes packed in water. So the number 1 thing you always need to do is drain the block as much as possible. A waterlogged block of tofu won't absorb a marinade, okay? Or get crispy in a frying pan. To drain it, slice the block and place the slices in a single layer on a paper towel lined baking sheet. Top tofu with more paper towels and then a heavy object like a skillet or something of that sort. So what I do is I take them out, and I actually don't even use a paper towel. What I do is I get what's the term I'm looking for? Like a linen-free towel, so you don't have to keep throwing away paper towels. You can just use a clean washcloth will do. Make sure it's clean. Also, make sure your hands are clean. I did wash my hands off camera with Dr. Bronner's soap. So make sure your hands are clean when preparing tofu as well. That's step number 1, good hygiene. So what do? Take a knife, and what I do is I actually cut it halfway down the block on both, okay? So you go halfway like that, and I have to I'm actually doing this through the camera, I gotta be careful here. So I cut it halfway like that, and then what I do is I try to cut it into 4ths every time, or 1/8 even. So let's do this, boop, got that. Boop. You try to make it as uniform as possible too when cutting, because you want everything to cook at about an even rate. Okay? So now that that's done, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to cut these into halves, and that should be enough bulk to where they'll stay together, but they will cook thoroughly. and drained thoroughly also. So I got about roughly the same size. And then what you're going to do is line them up, of course, on a washcloth or rag to help absorb that, that fluid. So we got that. Cut those in half, cut those in half, cut those in half. And you know, if they're a little uneven, that's a good thing. Don't worry about it too much. You just want to keep them generally even. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pack it in the towel, okay? And also, you can take the skillet that you're going to use just to kind of push the, push any remaining water out. Now, ideally, I've read things where you do it like as long as possible, like up to like a half hour. They say 15 minutes is sufficient. Anything to get the excess moisture out. But you want to put a little bit of weight on top, like a book or a skillet or whatever you have lying around your kitchen. And then, let me read the rest of this here. Let it drain. They say let it drain in the fridge during the day. Once drained, you can marinate the tofu and start cooking it. Or what I do is I just season it after the fact. Like once this is absorbed, you have a bowl of sesame oil lying around. You pour the oil in. So put the drained water tofu in the oil, mix it up. And then throw it into another bowl with curry powder and have the oil stick to the curry powder, and then I put it on a medium to high heat skillet, and then that cooks it very thoroughly. Now, everyone's going to cook this stuff differently, and I thought about this before I made this video. I just wanted to show you how to prepare the tofu. You want to make sure that you drain the water outside of it so that it can crisp up, and so where the oil can coat it properly so the water's not on the surface of the tofu. So, once you have that done, get a bowl of oil, get some curry powder or chili, garlic chili paste or whatever you want to use. I didn't want to do it because everyone prepares their tofu differently. We'll have links in the description for recipes on whatever you want to do. But I'll just read off these couple of quick tips before I go. If you do marinate it, skip the oil. After you've pressed it, it's ready to absorb flavor, but the food retains vinegar-based marinades are better. Cornstarch holds the key to crispness. I like arrowroot. I already went through that. Make sure the pan is hot. Ditch the olive oil. Season generously, and then you're pretty much good to go. I'm going to put this in, I'm going to start cooking this stuff. I'm going to oil it, and then I'm actually going to do some seasoning. So once this stops draining the water from underneath the towel, I'm going to come back and do my oil marinade, and then I'm also going to do my coat and my seasonings that I have here, and then I'm going to throw it in the pan. All right, we're back. So this has been sitting underneath a skillet for about a half hour now, and they're looking pretty dry. Absorbed a lot of liquid. I actually used another washcloth. This is the second one to absorb even more of the water. So what I do, this is kind of a healthier way of doing it, is I just go a little bit for the oil. You know what I'm saying? Got to coat everything in there. This is probably even more oil than what you need, but hey, we're going whole tofu with this extravaganza. So you just coat it in the oil. I don't even find it necessary to use cornstarch or arrowroot if you're trying to go for a healthier option without carbing up. And then you go right into your chili powder or whatever seasonings you want to use. Coat it all on there. Okay. Like that, like so. So you don't even need to oil the pan. Everything's pre-oiled with it, and you're pretty much good to go. And then, of course, always practice good kitchen hygiene. Voila, clean hands. Got that? Okay. So that's basically all you do. You just go to oil, to curry powder, or whatever you're using, then straight to the pan. You're good to go. And then, of course, how can I forget? You're also going to need a spatula. Let me grab that. So I like to actually put this thing on a pretty high heat because you want to sear that to where you're getting a nice sear on these. And then you have enough spices to where I have enough spices to where it's all going to mix in pretty well. It's good to me. I'm going to come back in about 5 minutes on each side until they're golden brown and crispy.